Hello everyone, Fred here. In this installment of TPP Dynamite, I'm going to be talking about, you guessed it, why Jake Schreier should not be the director of the MCU's X-Men, why naming him as such was a big misfire for Disney Marvel that probably heralds the impending ruination of the MCU's X-Men, just like the Fantastic Four and the rest of the MCU before them. First things first though, if you haven't already, let me encourage you to subscribe to my channel. I'm currently at just over 600 subscribers, and I'm really trying to reach 1,000 as soon as possible. I post film, book, and TV series reviews. I do opinion pieces on entertainment, news, and affairs. I'm also an author of adult and young adult mystery novels. I recently released a new Hitchcockian short mystery called Gumbo Night. I'm quite pleased with this one. There's a link to it in my video description below, and I encourage you to check it out as well. With that in mind, and without further ado, I'm going to just jump right into it. So, as most of you know, Kevin Feige and company are going to be rebooting the MCU after Avengers Secret Wars, though Kevin apparently doesn't want to scare people or whatever with the word reboot, and thus keeps using every other word in the English language to avoid calling it what it is. Nevertheless, it's basically understood that one of the first projects in the rebooted MCU is going to be a new X-Men project with a brand new and younger cast of characters to portray the X-Men, and with Jake Schreier, director of this year's movie Thunder Blunders, set as the movie's director. And given just how badly Kevin Feige and his woke entourage have ruined the wider MCU and the Fantastic Four, and how they, going by some rumors, might be about to ruin Spider-Man if Tom Holland doesn't ruin it first by quitting like he said that he will several times already, it makes sense that they would want to pivot to doing X-Men to carry the MCU into the future. X-Men may be, by the time that Secret Wars credits roll, the only major Marvel property that Disney Marvel will not have ruined, as well as the MCU's last chance for redemption in the eyes of audiences and fans. And X-Men, even alone, is done properly, definitely a brand big enough to carry the MCU for 10 or 20 years, or maybe even longer. Long enough for people to forget the travesty of Himbo Thor, or Captain African American, or Soy Hulk, so that the wider Marvel universe can be softly rebooted around the X-Men. Here's my major concern. It's great that Kevin Feige and co seem to understand, even if they're trying to save face by not saying it, that they have ruined the MCU so thoroughly that their only feasible way forward is going the reboot route. But the reboot is only going to be as strong as the writers and directors and executives who implement it. And right now, it's looking like the writers and directors and executives in charge of the reboot are going to be the same ones who wrecked the MCU in the first place. Kevin Feige, for instance, is not going anywhere unless you believe those unconfirmed rumors about how he might leave Disney Marvel after Secret Wars, rumors that he himself has actually debunked. Meanwhile, it's already looking like Kevin Feige and co will be repeating one of the biggest mistakes that brought the MCU to heel after Avengers Endgame, and that is hiring absolutely disqualified people to make the MCU's content. And I suspect that this was a decision that Kevin and co made for one or both of two reasons. The first being a desire to not bring on creatives like Jon Favreau or Ken Branagh or Chris Nolan or such, who are old and seasoned enough to fight back when they get silly studio notes that mandate or request the addition of ridiculous plot points to, or the excising of truly good plot points from, the movies that they're writing or directing. And the second reason being a desire to only hire creatives who will comport with Disney Marvel's more recent woke radical leftist agenda, which generally means hiring younger and less experienced writers who have no sense of vision or story, who have no respect for the source material or the fans who want to see it adapted properly for that matter, and who tend to see MCU projects as little more than opportunities on their part to preach to the conservative crowd, or potshot the Orange Man, or really do anything but make solid comic book movies. Perhaps the biggest example of this to me in recent history is Julius Onah, also known as the director of Captain America Brave New World. Instead of returning to any of the directors of the previous Captain America movies, the people who built the Captain America character up to be as popular as he was by the time that Avengers Endgame ended, by the way, Disney Marvel went out and hired this man to direct Brave New World, despite that he had no experience writing or directing movies as big as Disney wanted Captain America 4 to be. He had no experience with making Captain America movies either. He had a mid to poor track record that did not include anything remotely indicative of his readiness to direct a blockbuster movie like Captain America 4. He had, by the time that he did Captain America 4, directed, written, and or produced a grand total of 4 movies, including Captain America 4 actually, none of which are worth remembering, none of which were hits with critics or fans, all of which got lackluster reception. Honestly, the only things that he brought to the table were the facts that he's a person of color and that he's of foreign heritage, and there's a good chance that that's a major part of why Disney Marvel hired him in the first place, the company's recent and infamous open secret mandate to abide by DEI protocols in making all or nearly all its TV and film and streaming content. And that brings me to Jake Schreier. Jake Schreier most probably is not a DEI hire, but he most probably is someone whom Kevin Feige and co. can easily control because he is a monumentally inexperienced film director, more inexperienced even than Julius Onah, really. He's had a very mid-career in television and music videos. He's directed 3 movies in his entire career, 2 of which were very low-budget and low-key stories, none of which have delivered blockbuster profits or even approached the type of story that a big-screen X-Men movie will be, or at least should be. The only superhero movie that he's directed, Thunder Blunders, was basically an Earth Station Guardians of the Galaxy knockoff that flopped financially and drew a lukewarm general reception from fans and audiences. This man is not gonna have the experience or the clout or probably the raw guts to tell Kevin Feige and his entourage no when they come at him with a bunch of nonsensical studio notes about how the X-Men need to be X-women or how influencers need to make up the main cast instead of actual talented young actors, or how The Rock needs to be Apocalypse, or how Professor X and Magneto need to be stand-ins for Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, or how the mutant struggle needs to be an allegory for the alphabet community struggle. This man probably will not even understand the X-Men or the filmmaking business enough to realize why he should say no to those types of requests or orders. This man does not have the experience that you would expect for someone tasked with rebooting the entire X-Men franchise and pivoting the entire MCU to focusing on that franchise. I'm not saying that he can't learn, and in fact he's already done at least one interview wherein he talks about the lessons that he has learned from working on Thunder Blunders and that he hopes to implement in his future work. But the fact remains that he's just not there yet. And to me, that's a major point of concern because it's a major indicator that this man is gearing up not so much to make an X-Men movie as he is to experiment with one. And who knows, maybe Jake Schreier will learn by the time this film actually gets closer to the scripting and shooting phases. Maybe I'm wrong. We are still, after all, a long way from seeing this X-Men reboot because we're still a long way from seeing even Secret Wars. And to be fair, the Russo brothers had only directed 3 smallish movies before they directed their first MCU project, the masterpiece that was Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Either way though, the fact remains that I do not want to see Jake Schreier in the director's chair for this movie because amongst other reasons, Jake Schreier is nothing like the Russo brothers, who had very successful careers in television before coming to the MCU, unlike Jake Schreier, and who never directed any duds for the MCU like Jake did with his very first MCU project, Thunder Blunders. In fact, their very first MCU project was Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Judging purely by the evidence as it exists right now, I think it's safe to go ahead and conclude that Jake Schreier will ruin the X-Men, just like I came to the same conclusion about Julius Ona before he ruined Captain America 4. And as a major X-Men fan and Marvel fan who's been frustrated by just how thoroughly Disney Marvel has destroyed the greater Marvel universe, as well as recently the Fantastic Four, it would be nothing short of heartbreaking for me to watch in slow motion as the X-Men became the next IP on the chopping block. At any rate, you know the drill. That's just my opinion, though my opinion based on indisputable facts and hard evidence. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Are your feelings more complex? Sound off in the comment section below. Meanwhile, if you liked this video and made it this far, don't forget to leave a like, click subscribe, ring that bell, and hey, follow me on social media as well. So long.